Better You Academy. I'm Ambika Devi, one of the members, and I am so happy and excited to share with you what I've got today. It's the beginning of a 5 day challenge. And in this challenge, what we're going to be looking at and talking about is how to let the thing that we love be what we do. This is inspired by the Rumi quote, let the beauty of what you love be what you do. I have always enjoyed the poet Rumi and his incredible ideas and inspirations. And so that is what inspired me to do this challenge for all of us. We've got to really identify what our passions are. This is of the utmost importance. And the way that I suggest you begin is really looking at what you loved as a child. When I was a kid, I grew up in a household that absolutely loved books. My mom kept a huge dictionary in our dining room. And during meals, it was not unusual for her to walk over to the dictionary, bring it over to the table, stop eating, and open it up and teach us about a word. She also went on to lead book groups. And I really think that becoming an author and really getting into my own writing was indeed inspired by my relationship with my mom because, as kids, we want to please the people who raise us and make them happy. So I really think that that was a big part of it for me. As a little kid in what we call elementary school here in the States, I was responsible for crossing kids across the street to get over to the side of the street where my classroom was. We were divided by a road. And that was called being a safety. What happened though was because I was doing that street crossing and helping the kids, I was missing spelling class. And I really think that was a big reason of why I was challenged as a speller. Now, later in high school and junior high, I was chastised by my teachers for not being able to spell. I even was given a D, which is almost a failing grade in geometry because I wasn't spelling words correctly. And when I went to summer school, the head of the math department was my teacher and tutor, and he said, bring your mom next week after 2 lessons. And I did. And he said, this child should not have been failed. She should have gotten an A. She totally gets the geometry inside and out. So that kind of put a damper on the path I was on because I really loved science and math. And I was headed to being a physicist. Was going to go to MIT at one point and decided no, and took an extreme turn and went to art school instead. Art had always been a huge passion of mine. In the house where I grew up, we had a big giant basement, so the underground level. Uh, and my parents took the biggest part of the space and turned it into a party kind of room to entertain their friends. We had a laundry room down there, and in there, my dad also built a black and white dark room and taught me how to do photography at a very young age. He then came and taught my second grade class how to do it. And then I had a separate room, which was my art space. I loved that space. I could go down there and get lost in projects for hours and hours. They would have to come down and pull me out to bring me to a meal like lunch or dinner. I can remember also being allowed to use things that maybe most little kids aren't allowed to use, like soldering irons and candle flame. I used to make melted crayon drawings by melting my crayons in the candle's flame and then splattering it onto cedar shake shingles. We had had the roof redone, and I loved making those. And we gave them away like greeting cards. I made a lot. I don't know if it got up into the hundreds, but it may have. And so art has always been a really big part of it. I ended up at art school. And when I was there, I was also working as a musician on the side. I had always loved music and sound and dance. And I again attribute it to my parents, especially my mother. She always said, go for it. If I had an imagination idea, she said, go for it. And so, for the first part of this challenge, what I'm going to ask you to do is in the comments below this live video, please write what you loved as a child. That's for today, day one of this 5-day challenge. So I want you to dig back and journal, if you will, about what are the things that you absolutely loved doing as a child. What did you imagine that you would be when you grew up? This is a question we tend to ask children, and we tend to ask each other, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? When I went to art school, though, I really had great ideas about making fine art and selling it in galleries. And my mom was an antique dealer, so I had the perfect agent to go out and sell my artwork. But then, whenever you're doing something like that, you are subject to what I call a game of favorites and also the current trends. So this can be a little bit daunting and confusing, especially if you're on a roll and you're managing to have your work or your inspiration out there at whatever level it is. But then suddenly the trend changes and you're not the hot thing that week. That happened to me. You see, I was making a particular type of jewelry out of glass beads, and it was hot, and several galleries wanted more and more. And then I decided to switch and make pins out of clay ceramics, and they weren't exciting, and the galleries dropped me. So that was really hard and confusing for me, but I didn't let it stop me. As a musician and a fan of music, I always admired the musician Joni Mitchell because she was also a painter, and all of her album covers were her own artwork. So I thought when I made music albums, which I went on to do, and when I ultimately became a writer and started creating books, I wanted to make my own book covers. And I did. I also had a situation that I had to overcome, which was how to learn. You see, my father was not the greatest teacher. He was teaching me to drive a stick shift, and I was having trouble going up a hill for the very first time. And he actually told me to get out of the car, and I had to walk a mile and a half home. It was humiliating, and it was a very hot day in the summertime where I lived. And I thought a lot on that ride home about how a person should teach someone else and what is okay, what really works, and what doesn't work. Well, it just so happened that soon after I went to decide not to be a physicist, I chose art school. And my father said, I will allow this, but you have to become a teacher. And so that reminded me back to that day when I was almost 16 and was having trouble driving a stick. And I thought, okay, not only will I become a teacher, I'll be such a good teacher that I will learn how to teach so many different types of people and personalities and help them get to where they want to be and learn the material that I'm wanting to teach them. So I did teach art, but I'll tell you, that is not an easy job to get. When I went to agencies to look at getting an art teaching job in a school, they told me I pretty much had to wait for someone to go on leave for a medical reason, like perhaps a pregnancy leave, or because they retired or even died. I thought, whoa, this is so morbid. I cannot believe this is what these agents are telling me. I also had kind of a gift for touch and massage. Friends and family, including my father, would ask me to massage their necks or shoulders when they got stiff and in pain. And so another way I survived being shoulded about being a teacher was I decided to go to massage therapy school. And I was such a great student. By that point, I could turn my teaching ideas into my learning ideas and how I absorbed information. And the day after I graduated, my school hired me to teach a couple classes. I went on for 21 years teaching in 3 different states in the United States and running student clinics, teaching massage therapy. This led me to write a ton of curriculum, and I taught myself how to do that because I had to write my own courses for these schools. Eric and Roland gave us some ideas in the last week about how we can challenge ourselves to discover what it is we want to do or maybe pivot our business to do. And I've got a technique I want to teach you right now, which is how to tune into your heart, because I really feel like it's a pendulum inside of our bodies. You see, there have even been scientific studies about which organ makes better decisions. Is it the brain and the brain functions, or is it the heart? And guess which one? It's the heart. The heart won the battle and the contest. So let me teach you a way that I get myself centered and grounded really quick, and then how I use my body via my heart space to make a decision. First, what I do is I bounce my heels on the ground. By bouncing your heels like this, so imagine this is my heel and this is the ground. So I'm bouncing, I'm lifting up on my toes and just dropping my heels down on the floor. This is better barefoot. Don't do it in high heels if you're wearing a stacked heel of any sort, because I'd rather you be very flat foot. And if you can even do it on the ground outside, that's even better. But any floor, a flat surface is great. When we're bouncing like this, we're activating the central nervous system, and it helps to clear and right both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, because your sciatic nerve runs all the way down. It starts connected to the brain, and it runs all the way down the spine, all the way, and wraps around the heels. Another thing you can do is just stamp your whole foot on the floor, because the front of your foot, where the big toe pad and the rest of the toes pads, has a little arrow point. And this helps you get the wellspring of energy from the earth into your body. It's actually a very major acupuncture point, but you wouldn't want a needle there. Just a little pressure from your thumb or stamping on the ground does it. This helps to get yourself a bit more grounded. And you can close your eyes to feel. And as you have your eyes closed, I want you to notice that your body has slight movement. You might feel it move side to side, or you might feel it move front to back. This is important because the subtle information of the movement is key for what I'm about to show you. Now, I want you to put your hands on your heart space. We know the heart's over on the left side of the body, but the heart space in the center. Take a couple deep breaths in and out through the nose, and then say, my name is, and your name. So I'm going to say, my name is Ambika. And I feel myself tilt just a little bit forward. But if I say, my name is George, I instantly feel like I'm being pushed back because that's not my name. If you're not getting clarity there, the next trick is to turn around, chasing your right shoulder. So you're going around earthwise, or what we call clockwise from an analog clock. And turning around 3 times helps to clear the energy out. Then try again. My name is George. Whoa, I almost feel like I'm getting pushed back. It's so much stronger than before. My name is Ambika. A strong lean forward to where I have to catch myself by stepping. This is a great way to ask yourself, should I make this decision? Should I do this? Is this what I need? Is this for the highest good of me and everyone? These are always excellent questions to ask. So on day 2, what I want you to tell me about in the comments below is, what did you survive to get to where you are? And each day for the next 4 days after today, for a total of 5 for this challenge, I will be putting a new comment to remind you. So make sure you like or love this posting of my live video, and also check back every day to read the comments and see what's going on so that you can be reminded of what the proximal day's challenges are. On day 3, I really love what Roland and Eric said about reaching out to people we know and asking them what they think you're wonderful at. What are you great at? What things can you discover about yourself? So hopefully you participated in that challenge, and so day 3 is going to be easy. And I'd love for you to start using the heart pendulum and give me some feedback. Tell me about how you made a decision using it and if it was different than what your head was telling you, because quite often it is. Then on day 4, what I'd like you to tell me about is, what activities do you get happily lost in? For me, it can be writing and thinking about stories that I want to tell. When I'm writing a book, it is more intimate than a lover. I can't wait to have free time to get over to either my computer or my journal to write and to work on it. Right now, I'm working on my 5th book, and it's a book of poetry and a short story. The short story has some history. So when I can, I'm getting lost in doing the research about the history involved in the story. And when I'm inspired, especially when I'm out on my walks in nature, that's when I find myself writing. And I always use my cell phone. I use a couple different programs, either Note or Evernote, to write, and both of them can take voice texting. So it's super easy when I'm out on a walk or I'm out and about in the world, maybe doing errands, and I can stop and I can take down some notes for myself. I'll let you in on a little secret. My 2nd book, Unfolding Happiness, was completely written on my cell phone. I have a co-author, and I would go to his house and stay for several days at a time. We would go on morning walks and I would interview him. And back then, I didn't even use voice texting. I thumb texted the entire book to myself in emails. Now I've got more tools. You could even use Otter, which will take voice memos for you and transcribe them. That way, because if the voice memo picks up more clearly what you've got and you don't understand what the text memo is telling you, you can go back and reference it and listen to it. That's what I want you to tell me about, is what you get lost in, and what are those activities that are almost like lovers and intimate relationships for you. And then for our 5th and final day, I want you to imagine dreaming into reality everything that has happened as a result of my 5-day challenge for us. So for me, I have a dream that started 3 years ago, and I am just now realizing it. I wanted to figure out a way to turn my curriculum and information from my books into reality. And I didn't know how to do it. And I was amazed by people like Eric Edmeades, who make courses like he does with the videos, and how they become so popular. Well, he taught a course that I took back in July of this year, just a couple months ago. And I learned how to sort through a big idea, hone it down to a clear, smaller idea, and create it into a course. The course that I created is called End Sleep Envy. Now, I started off thinking I was going to teach some of the things I taught you today, which I'll probably go back and make into other digital classes. But this is specific for people who have trouble sleeping. It's amazing. I launched it last week and I can't believe it, but I actually sold one already. And I've been giving out coupons to friends just to spread the word and get it out there. So for day 5, what I'd love for you to tell me is your imagination ideas of how you plan to turn all of what we've talked about in this 5-day challenge into your reality. I'm Ambika Devi. Thank you so much for tuning in.